Hi and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. I'm your host, Ashleigh King, and I will bring you a wealth of interesting people with fascinating ideas across the tech industries, the creative industries, and also uplifting stories of courage and hope. We all go through prickly situations in life. I believe that through courage, creativity, and curiosity, you can find inspiration to nurture your zest. That thing that gets you up and out of bed every morning, the thing that lifts you up and lights up your day. So join me in the studio and let's see who we have in the hot seat today. Hello and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. I have the incredible Anne English with me today. It's very rare that I actually interview somebody twice. But Anne's a very special person to me, so I'm so excited to share her with you. So welcome back, Anne English. We've been on an adventure, haven't we?
We certainly have, and I feel honoured. I didn't realise that was to happen. So yes, I feel really honoured that I'm back. But yeah, we certainly have been on a bit of a journey together since we first met.
I know. So the first time we met, we kind of met at a networking thing.
We did.
And I was like, oh my God, it's Anne English. And you blew me away with talking about your vision maps and the things you do. And I was so intrigued because I was thinking, I don't understand what she does. What do you do? And then I was able to learn what you do. And oh my gosh, you've unlocked my brain. So thank you. And thanks for coming.
It's funny you should say that, because when I saw you, and then after I got up and spoke, and that was one of the first times that I actually did stand up and do a talk. And you came over afterwards and you said, will you come on my podcast? And I was like, oh, yes. And I was like, oh my God, Ashleigh King spoken to me. So I was like, it's really funny, isn't it? The perspective that we have of other people and that they have of us. Yeah.
It's so interesting. So I asked you, I remember, to do our kind of New Year's special episode. And we talked about dreaming. And actually, I know you've got a secret thing with you today. Could you get that notebook up to show us?
Yeah.
And tell us
there's a bit of a story behind this. So this is my original ideas book. And in the morning of coming on that podcast, so I'm actually naturally introverted. So, of course, I did say yes. I was like, wow, of course, I want to be on Nurture Your Zest. But then I was like, that morning, I was thinking, what's going to happen? Because in my head, I thought, you're going to ask me a question and I'm just going to go, and literally not be able to speak because I would be so starstruck and in awe. So that morning, I thought maybe I should write some ideas down because I'm all about ideas. Then I thought, right, what's going to happen is you're going to ask us a question and I'm going to have to turn the pages of the book, and I'm very aware of the microphone. So then I start to think I would be going, it would be this noise as the pages were being turned. Although that was a slip probably rather than a page turn. So, yeah, that morning, I just thought, well, I'm going to write down what it is that I do, because if you ask me the question and my mind goes blank, that leaves us nowhere to go. So I wrote this down, and it's amazing to look back on it, because I now do visual doodles as part of my business. And this was kind of the first one. So there was two sides to my business. So there was the side, the ideas, the vision mapping stuff that I do. So getting the ideas out of your head. And then the other side, so that's the intangible, the world of your imagination. I was teaching visual marketing, which is a bit like window display. So your brands, your products, your services. The interesting thing is, I'm a big fan of the power of three. So I did write on there that the power of three, and I put my superpower. And when I wrote that, I knew there was something missing in my business. I didn't know what that was. And I also wrote the words but and because and how and why and some of my thoughts, which actually that turned into my TEDx talk, but I didn't realise when I did that, and we went on that journey together. So this page was kind of like the start of everything, and that just came from being nervous as a solution to what happens if you ask us a question and I can't think of the answer. So, yeah.
What
all evolved since then.
It sure has. And I mean, you've talked about a lot of things there, but you have so much experience in visual marketing, in visual styling, in creativity. It really is a unique skill that you have. You have so many unique selling points. And unique, special characteristics about yourself. So I'm so grateful we've been on that journey, and to call you a colleague and a friend, you know, we've worked together in lots of different ways. So it's great to have you by my side and also in my studio. So we're in Flamingo Heights podcast studio right now. When you first met me, Nurture Zest had just started, and we were recording in another studio space, which was great. It actually doesn't exist anymore, but it's so nice to be in the space that when I checked it out and it was a blank space, you're the person I brought with me.
I love that as well,
Yeah, and Paul Scurra from that branding company, Blind Sea Photo, and Paul King, my husband, and like you were part of that discussion of, is this going to be a viable space? So I'm so grateful to have you in my corner and back on Nurture Zest. Yeah. And the reason I really wanted to re-interview you and talk to you again is because you've been on such a powerful journey recently. Yes. So you have discovered something really special about yourself. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. Well, it's about how we think. You see, we can't see inside other people's heads. And actually, I don't know whether we really see inside our own. We just go about our day, do what we do. So I think the reason that you and I connected is we're both visual thinkers. We both love stuff like this, you know, creating sets and the visual stuff. So when you brought me in here, it was like you were telling me your vision and I could see that in my head. What I didn't realise at the time was that's actually got a name. So it wasn't until I'd done a book and I was talking about my book at an event and it's all full of pictures, full of doodles, that somebody came up to me afterwards and said, I don't know how you do what you do because I can't see anything in my head. I can't see any pictures. And I was really intrigued by that. So he said it's got a name. It's called Hyperphantasia. So I then went and, as you do, you Google stuff because like you, we share that kind of curiosity mindset, don't we? So I thought, right, I just need to understand more about this. I couldn't imagine not thinking in pictures. So when I did that, I discovered that there's a visual scale. So aphantasia is at one side, and then you go zoop, all the way up to the other side of the scale, and you've got hyperphantasia, which I thought, ooh, that's a rather cool name. It sounds like something out of Disney, doesn't it? So hyperphantasia is where you see the world as pictures. You see everything in your head as visual. So a lot of creative people probably have this superpower as well. I mean, we've all got that superpower. We're just on, you know, one end of the scale or the other end of the scale or somewhere in the middle. That kind of made sense of everything that I'd done before. That, yeah, I've always said it. I hear words and I see pictures, but it is actually true. That, you know, my mind is full of films and maps and all of that. So I've got a really rich inner world. But beyond that, I've realised that I've got multisensory hyperphantasia. So what that means is that, you know, your senses, your touch, for me, it kind of manifests itself into movement as well, which makes perfect sense of my TEDx talk because I talked about that and it's on that page, that button, the because. So in my TEDx talk, I say, you know, when we want to bring ideas to life and we come up with, I'd love to, say, write a book. Often the next word that we say to ourselves is, but. Now, for me, the word but, that spirals down. It takes you down. It's kind of a negative thing. And I talk about changing that word but into because. So if you go, I'd love to write a book because, you're then spiraling up and you've got your passion. So can you see now also how words have got movement to go with them? So it's really fascinating how the way that we think, but unless you analyse it or somebody points out to you the differences, it's just what we do, isn't it?
But I think it's so special because my sister is an artist. She's so talented. Okay. But she has no pictures. She has aphantasia. Wow. So she can copy things and she can emulate designs. Okay. She can see something and put multiple designs together, but she can't think of the design. Okay. So I find it fascinating. She can be so talented, but have no pictures in her mind. And the other day we realized she doesn't have music either. And I was shocked because I feel like I can have classical music playing, rave music, rock music, and I can feel it and touch it in my mind. But she has no track at all. No music, no pictures. And some people have no thoughts. I just can't imagine how quiet their brain must be.
And then they probably can't imagine, how quiet their brain must be, yes. As I say, soundtrack going off in your mind. But so, they probably can't imagine how we're thinking. Yeah. And we can't imagine how they think. It's just fascinating, isn't it? But that's why I call them these superpowers. We all need these different superpowers because that's how we can help each other, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to ask you a bit about that. So tell me a bit about Showcase Your Superpower. What is that? How do people find their superpower?
Okay. I was saying about words being really important to me. And with words, I see pictures. So for me, when I talk about showcasing your superpower, there's a couple of things actually. So the first level, there's different levels to all of this, is if I said you were a stick of rock, what would be the word that would be in the middle of you? So, sticks of seaside rock have words through them.
Do you mean like the sweets? At
Blackpool Beach? Yeah, Blackpool Rock, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I think if we're all a stick of rock, we all have one word in the centre of us.
Well, I hope mine is Zest, because I really hope I'm bringing the fun and the party.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it's ideas.
Okay.
So I think we've all got something that's core of us, but then I think there's core values that we have. So traits, things that resonate with us. So for example, I know that mine are. So I've got this process that I take you down and, mentioning about the power of 3, you end up with 3 words. So it's a visual process, a creative process. So my core values are vision, connection, and empowerment. So for me, vision is actually higher than ideas, because ideas are at the core of everything that you do. But vision is kind of like, it's the big picture stuff. Empowerment, and I realised on the last Nurture Your Zest, you said, what was the word? One word. Give me one word at the end of it. And it was the word of the year, and it was empower. I like to be able to inspire and empower people to do things for themselves. I don't always say to them, here you go, come back to me. Here you go, come back to me. It's like, here you go, and now go off and do your own stuff. So there is that word. And then the other one is connection. Because I like connecting to people, but I also like connecting ideas, connecting the dots, seeing patterns, obviously seeing pictures and things. So, Showcase Your Superpower is about discovering your core values. But then there's another thing that I also do is word of the year. So I don't know if you've ever done that.
I have, because you taught me it.
So word of the year is when you kind of filter down one word that you want to embrace for that year. So again, using all of your senses with that word. So instead of setting a New Year's resolution, you set an intention. Because the problem is sometimes with resolutions, it's kind of an all or nothing thing. It's like a pass or fail, isn't it? Sometimes it's like, I made a resolution and then it's like, I haven't, managed to achieve that. Thinking of a word, what you want to embrace for that year, well, that's setting an intention. So you can't really fail. You can just, keep trying using that word. I call it your North Star. So it helps guide you forward. So my word for this year, as I say, I've got another creative process that I go through again in 3 parts. The word that kept coming up for me this year was magic. In my head, I was keep saying, look for the magic, look for the magic, look for the magic. I didn't know what that meant, but that kept coming back to me. And then I thought, magic, maybe that's it, but it doesn't seem quite right. And then the other word that kept coming up was transformation. And again, it just didn't, because that multisensory stuff, I've got to embrace it. I've got to be able to feel it. It was close, but it wasn't quite there. And then the word metamorphosis came to me. I thought, that's magical transformation. So my word for this year is metamorphosis. So we're just going to see big changes happening this year.
What a word. Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
So transformation, chrysalis, breaking free, breaking out. What does that mean? Like, do you feel you've been in a cocoon, or you've been kind of quietly gathering your tools? Do you feel that you've been in this kind of hibernation period before you become that butterfly?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's about hibernation, because definitely over the last 5 years, certainly, there's been that transformation since, at the end of 2019 when I drew this, to then doing a TEDx talk. So the last 5 years, there has been a huge amount of transformation. And also the clients that I work with tell me that they've achieved a transformation from that. So I don't think I've necessarily been cocooned away, but I do think that we get to a level and then it's kind of like, what's next? What's the next level? And I'm going to be entering in my lifetime a new decade this year. So I'm going to be 60 this year. So again,
my goodness.
So I'm thinking, okay, let's embrace that next period of my life. I'm not ready to retire yet. I'm just getting started. So yeah, I think it's just quite a nice way to embrace, not just for myself, but also the people I work with. What transformations, magical transformations can we do together, and what kind of journeys can we go on?
I think that's beautiful. I'm just thinking about that. So you turning 60, which is awesome. And I think age is really just a number. And what's that quote? It's about...
It's a gift, definitely.
You don't grow old, you stop playing, or something like that.
My favourite quote.
Yeah. But for me, how awesome is it that I have a friend who's turning 60. I'm 37. I've got this amazing friend that I am so fortunate to have, who is a mentor to me and a colleague and someone I look up to. I think that's amazing. I will be there celebrating that important milestone with you, but also just watching you and witnessing you in your metamorphosis. So I love your journey. I think your word is cool. You've taught me about words and the power of words and the power of challenging your words and reframing your views. And as you say, it's not but, it's because.
Yes.
So one of the things you say is that ideas don't live in your head.
No.
Can you tell us a bit about that one?
Yeah, well, they do get formed in your head. They start in your head. But I don't believe that your head should be a place for storing ideas. It's definitely a place for generating them. But you need to get them out. So you can do that in 2 ways. Write ideas down, do doodles. So that's taking an idea. Now, I think there's something magical that happens between your head to your hand. And I do believe it kind of comes through your heart as well. So that thing about writing ideas down, but also breathing life into them as we speak. We're actually breathing life into something that was intangible in our minds. So there's lots of different ways to bring ideas to life, because if they stay inside your head, well, one thing is you probably don't get to sleep at night.
Tell me about
You've got so many ideas going on. But the other thing is ideas are so valuable. You think about everything. Everything started as an idea, didn't it?
It did.
This started as an idea.
For sure. And I do think you have this unique gift of taking people's ideas or internal chaos and actually breathing it to life and bringing it to life. Yeah. And for anyone who's really interested, go back to Anne's last episode. We go quite into your career history and, the amazing projects you worked on where you brought ideas to life. But I mean, for me, I just think you have this unique way of taking quite complex, chaotic thoughts that are disparate and different patterns and thinking and almost kind of putting them into colorful lines. So for me, that there is a way, when I work with you as a client or when I've kind of shared ideas with you, there's something you do that's really unique to kind of turn those ideas into a tangible product or a commercial asset or something like that. And how did you start doing that, do you think?
Well, I think it does go back to Hyperphantasia, although I didn't realise it at the time. So when I ended up doing a TEDx talk, and I know at the time the theme of it was Imagine a World. So I translated that into Imagine a World without but. However, I felt that I wanted to take people on a journey, and the visual journey. So I knew that this map had to have a name. So I looked back at the clients that I'd helped And what was the word, searching for a word again, that they all said about, why they came to me for help and also how I'd helped them. And the word clarity popped out, because that's how everybody says, I hear them, they either have the problem that they want clarity or I've helped them with clarity. So that word became really important, taking people on a clarity quest. I didn't see that myself. I was like, well, how am I giving people clarity? But remember what I said earlier, that for me to be able to understand something, I have to picture it. So I ask a lot of questions. I'm curious. So if I can't picture it in my head, it doesn't really exist. When I do vision mapping with clients and we're mapping out their ideas, I'm asking them, what their vision is, what their mission is, all of that kind of thing. So for me, those things keep you grounded. So yes, ideas, you might think they're floating up here, but actually your vision, your mission, your values, they're like seeds. If you imagine those as roots planted down, and out of that grows your brand, your products, your services, the people, the tangible stuff is above the surface, but actually the foundations are the deep stuff below it. So thinking about ideas and bringing them to life, when I end up doing vision mapping with people and I get the ideas out of their heads, I'm curious, I'm asking them questions. And then they might say this thought and they might say that thought. And then I go, oh, well, if it's this, and if it's that, could it be the other? So I'm connecting thoughts together. And by me asking the question so it becomes clear in my head, it actually becomes clearer in their head too. So that clarity is all about speaking your ideas and writing them down, getting them onto paper. And then you can see the connections.
Yeah, I know we're both quite spiritual people, or we believe in, curiosity about other things and feeling, really feeling highly sensitive, intuitive feeling into things. One of the things that you said before was, the power of words. I believe you can speak life into ideas, you can speak life into people, and you can speak life into your own life and circumstances.
Absolutely.
And again, if we are stuck in the negative, sometimes we can be in that spiral, that sea of negativity. And one of the things that I love that you do is actually it's building your own treasure map. So I
with
went
the magic pixie dust, but
no, I won't.
We can't tell people the magic pixie dust.
I won't tell anyone about the pixie dust, but you have to go on Anne's clarity quest. So you have an amazing daydream and doodle day, and I went on that, and I really enjoyed it because we got to hit a gong on some of our limiting beliefs and our past selves and let go of some stuff, which was important. But you also have the opportunity to dream up ideas. So some of those have actually come true for me. And there are some that I can only dream about, but who knows, they may happen.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one of the things that I really enjoyed was creating my own treasure map, my own adventure map. Yes. And so we could come up with whatever we wanted and we could have our things. And I can't remember some of them. I think there's like a sea of superficiality. So
it can be whatever you want it to be.
But there were certain things, like there was the cove of
calm, stuff like that.
Or inlet of intrigue. Or it was so fun to do and just be creative and have fun. But I think just taking a moment to be in the moment, to be present and just to dream.
Yes.
I want to ask you, when do you think we stop dreaming?
Well, I haven't. So if you ask me that question, I think I was actually really lucky because I ended up going to art college, and then from that, my first job, I say I've been really lucky working for the big three: Santa Claus, Willy Wonka, Mickey Mouse. So I did Christmas displays for 25 years. So I was creating Santa's grottos. I didn't have to grow up, because of my career path. So that quote about, whether we grow old, isn't it? Because we stop playing, or is it we stop playing because we grow old? I think if you bring that playful and the dreamlike state. So I've not stopped daydreaming. And I remember at school, I remember you telling the story actually about how you were the chatterbox.
Yeah.
Well, I was a daydreamer. I can remember sitting in class and looking out of the windows. And as the teacher was talking, I was actually forming pictures in my head. I realised now what was going on. They couldn't see what was going on. So it would be like, Anne, stop daydreaming, kind of come back into the room. But actually that was my way of processing things. So for example, maths, I would see that as shapes. If I heard history, you know, stories of past times, that was forming a timeline in my mind. Geography was all about maps and landscapes and things. So that rich inner world was happening. So I never stopped daydreaming because that's how I process the world. Now, I don't know whether I don't think you've stopped daydreaming, have you?
I think there probably was a time where I thought, who am I to dream? So before I started Nurture Your Zest,
right.
I guess the kind of the way it started was there was a time where I was in a job, it was in finance, and I was doing repetitive step-by-step activities every day. And I didn't feel fulfilled, and I was learning outside of my working day, and I just had no joy in my life. And I did something called the Values in Action via Strengths Character Framework.
Right.
And it's a fabulous tool for anyone interested. I'll pop it in the show notes. But this tool, when I did the test, it puts your 5 character strengths at the there's like 26 or something, but it puts your first 5. And I looked at my life and I was looking at the things that were my lowest strengths and the things that were my top strengths. I was putting all of my energy into things that were not my gift. And so...
Was that because you had to work harder on those things?
Oh, yeah. And so what I did actually was I started to make a conscious effort to refocus my energy into things that I was good at and that were my strengths, just as a bit of a test bed experiment, because I was low and I wasn't enjoying my world, and I was kind of looking at Instagram and thinking, everyone else is having this dream life, and we know that's not true, but in your head,
very not true.
As you said about perceptions, I thought everyone's having a wonderful life, so like why am I stuck? And so what I did is I started to live in my strengths. So one of my strengths was the appreciation of beauty and excellence. I didn't know that was a strength.
Okay, yeah.
So the reason I was late because I was looking at the ducks or the trees or admiring the scenery,
I do that.
or crying at an opera or a poem or being so moved by things. I didn't know that was a strength or a power or a gift. So when I started to think, okay, well, I really love putting sets together or doing interior design or putting lights and flowers and creating spaces that are really unique and creative. When I started to do that more, I found that career opportunities came my way. Yes. And as I started to live in my strengths, my career just like went, I got so many promotions after promotions when I'd been stuck for a long time, unable to move. And it was because I'd been trying to go for jobs that were not in my strengths or in my gifts. And so that was one of the most important things, that then when I wanted to start Nurture Your Zest, that those are the people I want to speak to. I want to speak to that person who's like listening or watching, who feels stuck in their life and they think, is this it? Is this really all there is?
Absolutely not, because you can be whatever you want to be. I mean, I know that might sound a bit like, if you hear the people that have achieved some amazing things, it's because they've dreamt big, haven't they? They've taken impactful action. It doesn't happen by itself. You know, I do have a magic wand, but if you wave that magic wand, it doesn't magically happen. But what they've got is that clarity, haven't they? The clarity of where they want to be. They might not necessarily know all the steps at that point, and they certainly can't do it by themselves. We all need other people to help us, but it's that clarity of vision, and then also speaking it into existence, showing other people, telling other people what your big dreams are. Got to be a bit careful with that one though, because sometimes the very people that love us the most are the ones that will squash our dreams, because they might want to protect us. And remember, when a dream or an idea isn't fully formed, you're still working that through. So they might ask questions, which is brilliant to help you think about it, but you might not have the answer at that stage. So they might go to you, well, you don't want to be doing this, you want to be doing that. They can't see inside your head, or more importantly, feel what you can feel. So moving on with those ideas and the vision, that's sometimes the only thing that you can do. So that sea of negativity that we talk about, other people might drown your ideas, but we can drown our own.
Oh, yeah.
By that negative self-talk, can't we?
Absolutely. You don't even need other people to do it. Like, if you're in the wrong framework, you totally can go down that spiral. But you are right, speaking things into existence. It's one thing to have ideas. I think it's the follow through and the alignment in action. So I have to be honest, I never expected to run a podcast studio, but that was just the way every step in my journey has come and brought me this way. And when you look back, there is a pattern and a map. Yes. But it is actually something you will say a lot. I know this about you, is it's not the what, it's the who, or it's not the how, it's the who.
The who.
So sometimes you might not know what all the steps are, but you might have a goal or a desire or a vision. And I think as well, it also comes back to who are you serving? How is that dream going to impact others? Because when you have something really special that's value-led, it's much easier to get on that journey.
Yeah, with the how to who, as part of the quest, we start off with that but thing is normally the how. I'd love to write a book. And then you immediately jump into that, well, how am I going to write a book? And that's when you spiral down because you don't have all the answers. Power of three little magic letters, H-O-W, is the same as W-H-O, how to who. It's the same thing, really. So if you focus on, well, who can help you on that journey, then that's much more powerful and empowering than the question, how am I going to do it? I mean, you do have to face up to that. But normally the answer to how is, well, who can help me? So they might not be the trailblazers, but they can certainly help you along that journey. And I do see this as a bit of a mountain, as you can imagine in my head. So when you're going up that mountain, the different levels, there's people at the top that have been up there before. So there might be the coaches, the guides. They could be dead, they could be alive. It doesn't really matter. Then people are going to inspire you. And then there's the level that you're on. And there's people on the journey with you. And then there's people further down the mountain that you can guide up. Now, at any point in time, we can be at any of those places. So we can be at the top of that mountain, helping people up. We can be on the journey with other people. Or we can be at the bottom of the mountain, looking up. But of course, that mountain never ends, does it? It just keeps going up. Because when you get to the next level, there's always something else to aim for. I think there should be something else to aim for.
I think absolutely there should. I also think sometimes when you're creative, or perhaps I know this is a typical ADHD thing, but actually giving yourself the time to say, wow, look at what I've accomplished. This is great. Yeah. But sometimes we just dive into the next thing or the next focus and chase the next dream, and actually taking stock and time to go, zoom out and just kind of think, wow, what have I done? Where have I been? What have I just experienced is really powerful. Something that I wanted to ask you, so you have this amazing gift of hyperphantasia. Is that ever a negative thing? Is that ever a bad thing?
Ooh, yeah, I think it can be, because everything in the world, negative, positive, magnets, you can't have one necessarily without the other. I prefer to focus on the positive rather than dwell in the negative. But yeah, there is some negative. So thinking about it, I don't like to watch the news. So that can be something that can spiral us down. I think it's important to be aware of what's going on in the world. But in my mind, you see, I'm busy painting pictures. Okay. So that's another thing as well. Horror movies, I just can't watch a horror movie, suspense stuff, because again, I can feel it, so that I'm just sitting all the way through kind of like, on high alert, because in my mind, I'm painting all these pictures. So I think that's probably why I do prefer to focus on the positive, because there's a lot of negativity out there. And don't get me wrong, I have had a lot of things happen in my life that aren't picture perfect, and it's not about the fake Instagram reel as such. But if you want to paint your own picture, I think you want to paint a pretty one if you can. I prefer to.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said there's light and dark, and there's many colours and many shadows in between. And so I am with you there. I'm not perfect. There have been good and bad and many lessons along the way. At the same time, I think we can protect our energy and what we surround ourselves with. And as someone who also is very visual and very much a kinesthetic person, I feel those things. So I am like you. I don't put that in my energy, because whatever you believe in, whether you're spiritual or you believe in a faith, I think we have the power to bring things into reality with our speech, with our behavior, and actually sitting in that space of turmoil, I don't feel is helpful.
It's not, but I think sometimes you do have to acknowledge it.
Oh, yeah.
So I have what I now call my chocolate Easter egg moments, chocolate Easter egg days.
Tell me about this. I haven't heard of this with you before, so this is a new one.
Well, it is. And, you know, sadly, it's because I lost my mum a few years back. And, you know, I want to take all the positive stuff that she gifted me, you know, and she lived into her 80s and stuff like that. So I'm very grateful for all of those things. But of course, at the end of the day, it's your mum. You miss her. So one day I was not feeling my best and I was in a shop and it was before Easter and I saw a chocolate Easter egg. And I looked at this chocolate Easter egg and just thought, just got to have you. So, you know, back to that kind of childlike thing. And it was really strange because it was kind of like I formed a ritual. I remembered as a child, I would take them out of the cardboard box. I mean, it has to be a certain kind of Easter egg, you know, with the tin foil wrapping, and then opened it up and then, you know, got one half and broke it into the other half and used that like almost like a nest. And I just felt I needed a chocolate Easter egg. I love my cups of tea. I don't drink, but then I've never been drunk. I've just not fancied alcohol, you know, so never really had alcohol. So tea is my go-to thing. And I thought, I just need a cup of tea. I need a cup of tea. I need a chocolate Easter egg and I need to go to my room. This is hard. And I just needed to sob. You know, have you ever felt that way? You just need to sob, not cry, I mean sob. And actually you can feel sorry for yourself in those moments, you know, and you can just go, yeah, I won't swear because I don't swear, but life is tough. Having said that, I kind of like just sat there and ate my chocolate Easter egg and drank my cup of tea. I knew though that moment would pass, but I allowed myself to sit in that moment and literally sob my heart out. But then think, you know what, I'm going to go to sleep and then when I wake up, it's going to be a new day. We'll start again. So I always think you can press that reset. So now I call it kind of my chocolate Easter egg day. If I need to acknowledge that feeling, you know, so sometimes I think giving it a name, but also giving yourself permission, like you give yourself permission to daydream, like you give yourself permission to doodle, you can give yourself permission to not be okay. I just don't want to live there. I just don't want to kind of dwell in that moment. You know, in that moment's okay. That's not how I want to live the rest of my life. And I don't think that's the legacy that my mum would have liked to have left me. So yeah, that's the chocolate Easter egg.
I mean, that's an impactful one. And I've been there with you on this 5-year journey of all kinds of ups and downs. Yeah. And that was a tough one for you. It's good to know about the chocolate Easter egg because actually I think it's important that we, like you say, acknowledge our feelings. Absolutely. And it's not about the toxic positivity of everything's wonderful, everything's fine. No, you can't do that. I think as well when you're a feeler, for me, I always try to be authentic, and I've learned recently that sometimes you can be authentic but keep some things private and for yourself.
Oh yeah, of course.
At the same time though, I find it hard because I like to really feel with people and be with people. If I'm not in the right headspace, I do need that privacy to heal.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was actually my favorite exercise that you do in your fabulous book. It might be worth you getting it up while I talk about it.
which one's it?
Well, you have a fantastic, so many exercises that I love. The one that I actually really, really love, which we have here to see as well, but it's actually called the storytelling suitcase.
Aha.
So
yes.
The idea with this, right, is that in the past we would go traveling, or people would travel, and they would put stickers on their suitcase.
I will find my suitcases.
Yeah. So one of the exercises we did was we would write down what are the stickers on our suitcase.
Yes.
And I think when you're talking there about your chocolate Easter egg days or your Easter egg days,
yeah,
I think sometimes if we don't process those things that are hard, we can get stuck because we've never felt it. We've never given ourselves permission to be there in that moment where you need to sob and you need to eat the Easter egg or do whatever you need to do to reset and give yourself the space to heal. For me, as a very visual thinker and learner, doing this exercise specifically around the storytelling suitcase and thinking about the labels like ADHD, the labels around, things that have gone well or haven't gone well in life, or, challenges or failed relationships or failed friendships or stuff I've done that just sucked, that I really am ashamed of. Giving myself permission to sit there and name those things.
Yes.
And then looking in my head in this very visual suitcase that I've created, that I've been carrying around.
Yeah.
And it's so bloody heavy and I don't want to carry it around anymore. And actually, this exercise taught me that all we need to do is scrape those stickers off. We can get rid of them.
So the interesting thing is, you won't be surprised there's 3 suitcases in the book.
Of course, because the power of 3.
And also, when I talk about the but and the because, within the book you change the book around, so you change perspectives. So you've got your present self suitcase. So the stickers on that is, what have you collected along the way to get to where you are now? And then you've got your future self suitcase. What are the stickers that you want to collect on the journey that you're going to go on? And then there is a success suitcase in here. So when we're talking about the how and the who are the people that are on that journey with you? So if you want to do something, for me, when I wanted to be able to speak better, I joined a speakers association. When I wanted to write my book, I joined a book writing group. So if you're going to go on a journey, it's the people that are on that journey with you that's important. Of course, one of the suitcases that isn't in this book, because it doesn't belong in this book, is your lost property suitcase.
Oh, okay, so tell us about the lost property.
So your lost property suitcase is that suitcase with the stickers that you don't want to take forward. So you just imagine that this is a suitcase that's got it to lost property, but actually you're not going to go and claim it. You don't want that suitcase. You're not going to take that baggage on the journey with you forward. It's that baggage that we end up taking with us. So yes, you're acknowledging it. You're not saying with that magic wand it's disappeared. But you're going to go, okay, it's part of the journey. But you know what? I'm going to park you over there. You're going to stay behind. But actually something that's really powerful. So having a piece of paper, if you write it down, the lost property suitcase doesn't stay in the book. It's completely separate to that, because this is the book that you're going to treasure. You're going to take with you. You're not taking that with you. So if you get the bit of paper, and if you crumple it up, that sound, if I had a bit of paper now, I would do it. The sound and the energy that you put in crumpling up a bit of paper, or sometimes ripping a bit of paper, the noise that makes, or throwing it on the fire. That just releases that negativity, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's that feeling of, actually, this doesn't serve me anymore.
We get to choose. Who's saying what you've got to take with you on that journey? It's your journey, you choose.
So when did you decide to become so enlightened? Was there a time, did you get to a certain age or a certain experience where you were like, actually, something's not, I need to learn, what happened to unlock some of the stuff you're talking about?
Okay, so when we talk about being age 60, I think it's kind of level 60. I think as we grow old, we also get more wisdom. Yeah. There is stuff like that, because along the journey, and there are so many people. I've worked with coaches. I think every coach needs the coach. So everybody, that I come across, people have helped me along my way. As a child, I did used to like things like crystals. I've always loved crystals. Didn't know why, was always connected to them. Also that daydreaming thing, that doodling. I used to also, there was a thing when I was little called a TV program called Pollyanna. It was a book, it was a film. And Pollyanna used to say she was glad. She used to look for the best thing in everything. And I loved that program. So I used to say, oh, I love this. I'm glad about this. I'm glad about that. But then it became a negative thing, because I would get bullied. I would get told, oh, you're too Pollyanna. Too Pollyanna. So what? You're too grateful? But I didn't realise at the time that it was all about gratitude. It wasn't until I grew up and then, people started talking about crystals and crystal therapy, and then they started talking about gratitude and writing in your journals and all of that kind of thing, that I realised, oh, is this a thing? This isn't my weirdness. This isn't the thing that I got bullied about. This is actually a way that you can live and you can connect to that. So, I think it was little steps by step that I would end up talking to people and they would enlighten me with, actually, this isn't, because of course I've always been intuitive. So I've had that in me. I didn't know it was a kind of a thing that other people would connect with as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think intuitiveness or intuition has its own journey in itself. And I really do believe it's such a gift, but also a tremendous responsibility to use well.
Yeah, and as a child, I was the one that would be like, oh, she's too sensitive. When you're highly sensitive and you pick up on everything, then, you can find things overwhelming and you can be found a lot of time crying. But, for me, I will cry if I'm happy, but I'll cry if I'm sad. I'll cry if I'm overwhelmed. But, hey, just let the tears roll. It doesn't really matter. I think tears, or sometimes it's just the emotions coming out of you, aren't they? Whether they're good, bad, happy, sad, whatever.
It's just emotion. It's important to let them fall. But I think for a lot of us, if we're not in touch with our emotional side, or we're not processing any of those things, sometimes they come out because they're just bubbling over so much and they just need that release. And that's where I do think things like journaling, doodling, daydreaming, giving yourself permission to dream and to wonder, what would life be like if I wasn't in my existence, in my everyday, day-to-day existence. So daydreaming and doodling is actually a really powerful thing.
Certainly is. And why did you stop? I mean, if you look at my books, I write in the margins, I underline things which I would get told about at school. And also, if I was taking a book out of a library, that's the last thing you should do, is write in the book. But now, when I own the books, my books, I give myself permission to write in them, because, again, that's me processing the words as I'm thinking about them and forming pictures. So words, for me, are pictures. And if you go back to ancient times, if you think about hieroglyphics, what are they? They're pictures on caves. We've been forming pictures to tell stories for a lot of our existence, haven't we? Probably, does it go back beyond time? It's a way that we communicate with each other through pictures, but it's also the way that we leave our mark on the world, because the only reason that we know about the Egyptians is by looking at what they created and the drawings that they've left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you do, because you actually create a legacy visually that people can access and interact with. And I think that's beautiful. So I'd love to show our people watching, and we can describe this for anyone listening, but could you show us your storytelling suitcase you've actually brought with us? I certainly can.
My storytelling suitcase. So this suitcase is a old suitcase. It was probably, I don't know how old it is. It definitely goes back to, I would say, 1910. Possibly before that. It's got FB on the front, so that's Frederick Bell. So that's one of my great uncles. So it was passed down through the family, but I love old-fashioned suitcases. But listen to this noise. So you'll hear it on there.
Oh, wow.
As you open it,
I love that.
There's just something magical, isn't there, about stuff like that and the way that it feels. So I decided this was thankfully kept within the family and handed down, that it would be my suitcase that I would take on my journey with me. But I discovered that there's a lot of legacy, I think, gets passed down through the generations that you might not be aware of. Thankfully, my parents did do family history, and as a family of storytellers as well, stories get passed down the generation. But it wasn't until recently that I found a book, an album, and there's a picture of them. So it's nice to be able to put the picture to the suitcase and hand some of these things down through the generations. Because when you look back, thankfully my parents did do family history, so we've been able to connect the dots going back. So one of the things that I discovered in my family history is that one of my great uncles was a sculptor.
Right? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I was drawn towards sculpture. So when I did A-level art, I did art and specialised in sculpture.
Right.
And then I do 3D work. So, I mean, your set design, that's more like sculpture, isn't it? It's creating things in the 3D world. So in Newcastle, there is a monument to Stephenson, the great railway. Because, I mean, Newcastle itself, the northeast, was a pioneering city for, there was the light bulb with Joseph Swan, there was hydroelectricity with Armstrong. So I believe that there's something here about the energy, whether you believe in energy or not, that the northeast has always come up with innovative ideas. So the statue of George Stephenson was actually my great uncle, John Graham Loff. He sculpted that.
Oh, wow.
And then also there's the sculpture down at Tynemouth that overlooks the sea.
Right.
And it's a Collingwood Memorial. He did that as well.
Is that the one of the soldier overlooking the sea?
Yeah, the guy. So it's Lord Collingwood looking over the sea.
Wow.
And the cannons, I think, were on Nelson's ship as well.
Wow.
So, yeah. And there is a story. So I've seen a picture of this where there was a picture painted of him when he did this sculpture. And he was in a rented accommodation and it wouldn't fit in the room. So he ended up knocking through the ceiling so that he could create the sculpture in the house. So that's quite a famous picture of him doing that. But that's just problem solving, isn't it? That's being creative. That's being led by your passion.
It certainly
and then
is.
finding a way to make it happen.
A little twist of mischief as well.
Yeah, I love it.
It reminds me of our lovely friend Jakob, who is also a mischief maker, but very talented.
Yeah.
So I'm conscious of time. I want to ask you, what's your number one word to nurture your zest?
Metamorphosis. It has to be for now, doesn't it?
Beautiful.
But that'll change over time. But yeah, I mean, who does anybody want to be? You can be whoever you want to be. You can go on this transformative journey. You just choose to change, don't you? And change doesn't have to be frightening. It can be exciting.
Okay, so last question then is what is the one thing, if someone's stuck today or listening, what can they do today to change their life? Right,
get your ideas out of your head, for sure. Breathe life into them. Might be that you want to speak to somebody about them. Might be that you just want to speak to yourself. Sometimes you just need to hear your own words. Write them down, doodle onto paper, put ideas down onto paper. You can then play with them, you can move them around. Tap into that childlike curiosity. Don't lose that. Spend time daydreaming and doodling and see where it takes you.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Nurture Your Zest today. If you're feeling extra kind, it would mean so much to me if you could share this episode with your friends or family or anyone who you think might feel inspired by this content. Liking, sharing, or interacting with our content is a great way to support us as content creators, and it helps us to bring interesting stories and more people to you. This podcast is a Flamingo Heights podcast studio production, and I've been your host, Ashleigh King. If you liked today's episode, follow the video on your screen now, or check out the link in your show notes to find similar content.